Review.
It's too powerful!
Dark Arisen is a re-release of last year's Dragon's Dogma that includes some new, substantial exploration. The primary edition is an expansive area called Bitter Black Isle, which is moody and often exciting, but takes a turn for the worse out of the blue. Even if you enter it beyond the recommended level of 50, the final third of this dungeon crawl is almost game-breaking in the cheapness of its difficulty. It's a bizarre contrast to the harsh but fair encounters that come before it, and to the overall excellence of the wonderful game that surrounds it. If you didn't play Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen is your portal to one of role-playing's most unique experiences. If you did, Bitter Black Isle is worth seeing, but may require you to grind and repeat a lot of content before you follow it through to the end. Dragon's Dogma is still a flawed beauty, a near classic that merges open-world RPGs and the delights and frustrations of Monster Hunter along with several other clear inspirations.
Welcome, good Arisen. 3 days this one. A week, perhaps. A favoured game of mine, guessing the lifespan of those who enter these halls. Nothing personal, mind. And rest easy, friend. 3 score guesses here now have yet to hit the mark once.
The setting is the fantasy land of Grancis, a weary place threatened by the enormous creatures that roam it. Dragon's Dogma looks initially bland, but there are dramatic sights to take in among the soft greens and browns. An additional disc allows you to install higher resolution textures to your hard drive, which makes Grancis look sharper than before, though not dramatically so. The main game's standout moments come by way of astounding encounters with chimeras and other monsters, most of which look like body parts from different beasts were combined to make for new, deadlier species. You can leap onto these beasts and stab them as they flail around, though they very well might fling you to the ground. Ouch! Or you might summon an icy eruption and damage them from the ground up if magic is more your style. Whichever path you follow, these battles are often incredible. You're joined by 3 helper pawns that express unreserved wonder in their surroundings when not setting goblins on fire. And like the curious dunderheads they are, pawns don't always do what's healthy, not getting out of the way of a charging beast even when you call them to you. Dark Arisen's new area, Bitter Black Isle, brings with it many of the main game's delights, but it also tips the scales too far towards the frustrating end, though that doesn't really happen until the final third of the main mission. Before that, there's a lot to admire, including the melancholy tale that forms. It's mostly recounted by the moans of an unseen spirit and the etchings that you piece together on the monolith at the dungeon's entrance. Bitter Black Isle's biggest battles occur in spacious arenas, but much of the time you're trudging through narrow corridors, holding your breath lest some undead freak appear. Capcom recommends that you be at least level 50 when you enter, and for the first 2 acts of the dungeon, that seems about right. There are moments that will have you uttering profanities during these hours, though. That includes the first few appearances of a new enemy appropriately called Death, who is likely to murder you along with any nearby pawns before you realize you have to run away, possibly after you get in a few slashes. At this stage, Dark Arisen does a fine job of building terror as you round each bend, only to release it in an incredible encounter with a mammoth eyeball, or the largest ogre you've ever seen. Sadly, Dark Arisen fumbles in Bitter Black Isle's final lap. The difficulty gets ugly here, even if you grind for another 10 or 15 levels beyond what's expected. Multiple giant beasts clog up tiny rooms, giving you no chance to maneuver. Battles turn into desperate attempts to keep your pawns alive by resurrecting them over and over. There's no sense of balance or careful design here. The game goes from being sometimes frustrating but normally fair, to breaking the notion of a difficulty curve entirely. At least returning to other parts of Bitter Black Isle reveals secrets you probably missed the first time through, and pits you against creatures that weren't there before. and you might love some of the new cursed items that you can have cleansed to reveal a powerful weapon or a bit of armor. And if you feel the need to get back to Grancis, you'll be glad to know that it's easier to get around than before thanks to an unlimited use fairy stone. It's a shame that Bitter Black Isle turns into such a cheap experience in its final act, but the new areas are so eerily beautiful and intricately constructed, and the story is so ethereal that you might overcome the irritations and grind to the end. There's a pervading sadness to Bitter Black Isle that makes its best battles feel all the more ferocious. And if you're a newcomer, Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen has plenty of incredible battles awaiting before you ever need worry about the secrets on its fearsome new island.
I've done my share of exploring, and all over this place appears in no map or text I've ever seen. Even the halls that link one chamber to the next are mad. The work of some diabolic magic, like as not. A place so steeped in rancor just begs for conquest, doesn't it? Gets my juices flowing.